So they're creating that environment where they might not say you cannot go anywhere, but for all intents and purposes, you cannot go anywhere. Whether
Yes,
it's through that scare tactic or through taking away your, your money, your ID,
exactly.
your passport.
And when we were staying in the hotel, which was 2 or 3 days before we started filming, and then where we would sleep for like 5, 6 hours at night, we weren't able to leave our room. We didn't have room keys. And that was another intimidation thing. The
Wow.
security guy was like, you basically saying, like, you don't want to get caught having to come to us to get a key because the front desk isn't giving you one. So it's like the intimidation was there, and other people had even scarier. Like, I didn't have any scary intimidation stories other than like the general ones there.
So how did you
But
get out of the hotel room? They came and let you out
you
when they
didn't. You didn't.
you just stayed in for 5 days
Yeah.
straight? Wow,
3.
that's
Yeah. So
crazy.
we got
three
there
days
on
straight. Wow.
Saturday, and then we didn't film until Monday. Sunday, we couldn't leave. Now, we could request 30 minutes in the gym at the hotel or 30 minutes at the pool at the hotel. But because they wanted interactions to happen on the show when they were recording, you weren't allowed to go to the gym if another guy was at the gym, or at the pool if another guy was at the pool. So you're signing up for these like 30-minute intervals, and you're competing at this point with 15 other men. So if you think about that, 15 men going for 30 minutes at a time, you get an hour outside of your room for over the course of like a day or 2 days, really 2 days. And so I think about that. And then, by the way, they would come take a food order, drop off a couple bottles of water, and that'd be it. And so I couldn't call, like, the phones didn't work. The TVs didn't. At first we had like YouTube. They killed the internet connection to the TV. So it was like CNN, MSNBC,
Oh God.
Fox. Yeah, like,
That might be the worst part
it was,
of it
yeah.
all.
I was like, man, I really see how much our news propagandizes us by watching this shit.
Oh God.
But yeah, so it was like there was no way to leave. And then there's that intimidation factor. And some people on the guy side have much scarier, like one-to-one stories about the intimidation factor that are theirs
Yeah.
to tell. But that lack of autonomy and being stuck sort of in this hotel, and then being, shuttled to the filming for 18, 20 hours and then back to the hotel and stuff like that. I just remember thinking, like, man, if I try to leave here, to finish this silly analogy, it's like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like, what am I doing? Running out of this hotel, trying to get a car to stop me before the security guy comes and chokes me out. And then what do? I'm being held captive by a reality TV show. Please help me. Help me. Do you have any ID? No. Do you have any money? No. What's going to happen?
Crazy.
That was the
That's
literal
crazy.
scenario I would have been in if I decided that I was leaving.
And that's the problem with them saying, like, well, you signed this contract, because yes, you can write anything in a contract, but if something is, you know, if you're basically holding people against their will, and as much as they might explain some of these parameters, I think in the moment you don't understand it until you're in it. No one can explain that feeling when all those things come together at one time. Like, let's say everything's stripped from you, and then you have no way of leaving your hotel room, and there is heavy security at your door. No one's going to explain that in that detail in the contract to make you fully aware of what you're signing. And just because you signed it doesn't mean that it's okay or legal.
I am so glad you said that, because one of the things that I say whenever I'm talking to anyone about this, or the "you signed up for it" crowd, which I don't even have time for those people anymore. If you still think that after all these lawsuits and all these claims and all these experiences being sold, like, you're a lost cause. So, but even the stuff I understood, I knew I was getting rid of my phone. I had set up, your producer becomes your emergency contact. I think that's okay. Like, I knew what that experience was going to be like. Okay. I had little concern that maybe they wouldn't prioritize an emergency at work if I had one, because I was leading a marketing team at the time, and leaving for 3 weeks was a little rough. So I had a little concern they weren't going to prioritize that, but they actually did. It happened once where they needed to reach out to me, and I was able to help there. But what I didn't know or understand was sitting in a hotel room for 3 days. I knew I was going to be stuck on set, all of that stuff. But what I say is, until you live it, if they wrote everything out the exact way that it happened, until you live it, you don't understand it, because we take for granted the structure we have in our everyday life. The fact that, like, right now I could say, Jasmine, hold on, I got to go get a water or use the restroom or something. And we could do that, even though we're filming this content. Like that type of ability taken away, you don't know what that's like until you live it. And then film it being on camera for 20 hours a day. Like I was just myself, and that's fine. But like I'm also an introvert. So by the end of the day, I'm like, I'm done talking. I can't even get the words out anymore. And so,
Right.
it's like those are the things. And then like just the structure of like texting a friend when you're having a bad day, or you go, walking my dog every morning and every evening, like stuff like that, that like you
Yeah.
just
Is
take
it
for
ethical
granted.
for you not to have any access to fresh air? Is it ethical for them to give you lots of alcohol in these conditions?
While you're
It's
also not
questionable.
sleeping on a normal sleep schedule, which we all know that when you don't sleep and when you don't sleep, you become more reactive. Add alcohol to that, it's great TV.
Did they have you doing the dates at night as well, like through the night?
Yeah, so we had regular dating. This is actually a good point. And then we had nighttime dating, and they would be separated by about an hour break where we were still mic'd, but they were swapping out the crew. Why? Because they're
Mm.
union, right? And so those guys
That's
were done.
ironic.
Yeah, yeah. That those guys are done. They bring in the second crew to do nighttime dating. And the way they told us about nighttime dating was this isn't a requirement. This is optional. But guess
Mhm.
what? If you don't do it, you're going to lose the opportunities and the connections you're making to someone who will do it. And so they encourage doing it because you want to build those connections. And this is extra time for you and your connections and your ability to make those stronger. And if you don't, somebody else will. And there was one person who ended up not doing nighttime dating, and they were gone the next day. And so, it's almost like they use that as an example to,
Yeah.
again, intimidate you into doing nighttime dating.
And it makes me wonder, did they tell you you don't have to do it to kind of cover themselves so that no one can claim, oh, we forced them to do overtime because you didn't have to do it.
I
Although
think
you
so.
wouldn't make it if you didn't do it. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think so. I think there was
They
a
were
lot of
very
that.
conscious. Yeah, I think they were very conscious in their attempt to make sure it didn't look like a traditional job, even though there were different elements that made it very much a job.
Thank you for listening to this clip from the full episode of Eyes Wide Open. Please like and subscribe for daily clips and new episodes that drop every Tuesday. I appreciate you.